All right, welcome to Silent Command Stream. I'm here with Blue Coats Drum Majors, Peyton and Colin. What's up, guys?
Yo.
Hello.
So we're here at our March camp, but right now we're gonna kind of give you a tutorial of Tonal Energy, and we're gonna be working with the iPad version, but everything that we do on here will also apply to the iPhone version and the Android version that you may use during the summer or during your band season. Okay, cool. Let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to start with is a quick tour of the app. Also, do you guys say tour or tour?
Tour.
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 There you go. Sweet. Okay, so let's go to the tuner. We're going to start with the tuner. Pretty simple. Colin, sing us a G.
Oh.
All right. So this is the tuner, fairly easy. Down here you have different transpositions. I'm tapping on transpose. I can scroll through different instruments. Pretty easy. I can scroll through different pitch transpositions. I'm a horn player, that's why it was an F. Here we are, now we're back on C. Great. If I want to change the metronome or start the metronome, I can do that by tapping the button in the top right hand corner. I can change the temperament from equal to just if I want. Don't really need to do a lot of that.
Why would you need that?
Yeah, nobody really does that. This is not 1805. Okay, great. Let's move on to the sound panel. This is very useful. If your staff members or band director or anyone that you're involved with needs like pitches for singing, this can be really useful. So for instance, say that I want to play a C major chord on this tuning wheel. I'm going to tap sustain. Then I'm going to tap the notes I want. So I press sustain, press the notes that I want, and it sustained them. If I want to change the sound, I can go down here to sound at the bottom. Scroll through different sound choices, very useful. For instance, I can also enable auto transpose. And what that'll do is say that I'm with a B flat instrument, it'll put it in C automatically. Cool, okay, let's go to, like say that I want to have like a nice French horn mellophone sound. I can hit sustain. Let's make it diminished. Nice, sounds like Carolina Crown 2015. Cool. Fully diminished 7th chord. So this is really one of the most useful tools in Tonal Energy is the pitch wheel. You can do different octaves by tapping the plus and minus sign on the octave button. I think it doesn't have that highest D, but that's okay. Cool, okay. That's pretty much everything that you need. We'll come back and talk about the settings in just a little while. Okay, cool. Let's go to analysis. This is just more of the same, except it gives us a really, really specific vocal spectrum on which we can look. This is really good for when you're practicing by yourself, and if you want to check out exactly how consistent your tone is and how consistently you stay on the same pitch. It's really great. So, like if I sing ah, you can see that my tone was somewhat consistent, but ideally I just want a big block. But the little wavy waves at the top and bottom mean that there's some wavering in my timbre of pitch. Very useful, and it's also gives you the tuner up top, so you can see that you're tuning and also see how consistently you're on the same pitch. And we also, again, have our metronome, and we can change our temperament, which no one does. Great. Okay, we'll come back to the metronome. Real quick, let's look at the preferences. Cool. So this pops us this little dude right here. It'll be a full screen overlay on the iPhone edition. But sometimes, depending on temperature, your captions will tune to different levels of hertz. So for instance, say it's like really hot outside, you might tune to 438. Or if it's really cold, you might tune to 442, something like that. And that really is done based on your caption head's preference. But this is how you can adjust it. So if I type in 442, when I go back to tune, it's going to make the adjustment by 2 hertz whenever I am tuning. But we'll put it back on 440 for now. Cool. And then again, we have our temperament choices. I actually don't know what a lot of these are, but just and pure is really the one that most everyone is going to stay in. You can change your language, also change your key detection. Then we have the tuner wheel, which we just talked about. You can turn that on or off. I don't know why you want to turn that off. Auto transpose, talked about that too. Analysis, this is for if you're playing back files, probably won't do a ton of that. Audio options. This is actually useful. So for instance, if you have multiple microphones on your device, like I have on my iPad, you can say, hey, I only want to listen to the top microphone, or the back, or the front. And that can be useful depending on where the ensemble that you're tuning is. You can change the volume, the input gain, so that's like you can make the input be louder if you're recording a soft sound and you want to get it loud. You can adjust a lot of the listening, like room size, level, a lot of listening things for when the device listens to you. And then finally, there's vibrato down here that you can adjust. So if you're sustaining a note, it'll automatically put vibrato with it, which is really cool. Come back to metronome options. All these settings are available in the Metronome app, so we'll come back to that in just a second. External video, we won't talk about that. Recordings, video quality, I don't know. I always like to do high quality recordings. I think it's cool. MIDI settings. Probably won't be doing a ton of MIDIs in your band. Okay, great. So now we get to the meat of our video here, the Metronome app. So I've touched the Metronome selection. This is where Colin and Peyton will come in. So let's begin with the tour of the Metronome app. So here on my main screen, I have top left, tap tempo. And when I tap tempo, Colin, what is tap tempo?
You can tap the tempo that you like if you're trying to find the tempo.
Words. Like if you're listening to something, you can just go bonk, 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 bonk,
Very
bonk, 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 173.5. And it's very exact.
I just ruined mine, sorry.
And that can be very useful for when you want to, listen to something and clock it, see how fast it is, see how slow it is. Top right, have a play button. Say it again.
If you're trying to check your tempos, that's a good place to do it too.
Word.
Very true.
Very true. Okay, so then we got, right here we have our meter. I'm touching the 2/4, and this gives me a nice menu of meters that I can choose from. You'll notice you have everything from your half note bass time signatures up here, down to quarter note bass time signatures here. Then we get into our eighth note based, and it has every possible division that you could ever imagine of 5/8 and 7/8 that will help you out during the summer a whole lot. So for instance, let's say I tap 7/8. Cool. So now you can see it's changed my beats to the dotted quarter note, which is the compound beat for 7/8. Then if I go to the subdivision, it's by default made the eighth note my subdivision. So let's just play and listen.
That's crazy.
And that's actually a problem that we're going to come back and fix in just a little while. So you can see it's made my eighth note my subdivision. Cool. Let's lower our tempo down to 120. And we're going to put our subdivision on the dotted quarter. So now when I come back here, you can see it's taken away the eighth notes by default. Let's go to the triplet bass. This is going to be really fast. Let's turn on these eighth notes. Excuse me. So you can see there's some really cool options you can play with in terms of messing around with the subdivision that you want. You can also turn on just the beats 1 and 3 of each triplet. Really great if you have dotted or swung rhythms. Cool?
And this is usually with the preference of the staff member.
Word. Yeah, so sometimes different staff members will say, hey, turn the eighth note on for that. And all you have to do is tap 1, 2, 3. Word. And I just checked the auto hide, so that means when I choose a selection, it automatically hides the menu. Cool. Okay, moving down the page, we have our beats section. So you can see we have purple bars, and we have, why is it not going blue? Brilliant. Thank you, Peyton. Cool. So you can see we have purple bars and we have blue bars. Purple is accented, blue is normal. So if I make them all blue, they're all going to sound the same. If I accent the strong beats, we get some nice accents. Say I want to accent 3. Got it. Tonal Energy automatically applies a lower in pitch accent to the beats that are not beat 1 of the measure. So for instance, say I'm in 4/4 here, and I want to accent 1 and 3. You can hear how that next accent is lower in pitch.
And we usually, when we run the show, we have it in accent, and then if we have to quickly switch to a doctor beat, we usually just take it off, so it kind of runs like a doctor beat, and then you can easily just switch back.
Word. And Colin's right. That's very good for an instance when like you may have a program incorrect and you want to just run straight met without the metric subdivision and like just kind of kick the meters out. It's really useful for that.
Saves a lot of time too.
Saves a lot of time. Exactly. Okay, cool. So let's go on. Looking at this section down here at the bottom. Did not mean to do that. This section down here at the bottom, we have our presets, and these are metronomic presets. And we have this little 4 bar with dots menu over here that I've just tapped. This is going to take me into my metronome presets group. And as a drum major, this is probably going to be like your most important section that you're going to use in the app. So right now we have a default preset, but I'm just going to chunk it. And we're going to talk about how to make one and then how to share them. Oh, the app just crashed. That's great. Let's go back. That will happen. Cool. Okay, back in here. I think it just lost its mind that I deleted the default preset group. Okay, cool. So now we're going to make a new preset group. I'm touching the bottom, the plus sign in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see it says new group right here. Going to edit. Sorry, we're going to go name. Now I'm just going to type in Tonal Energy Test. Cool. Return. Awesome. Okay, so now we've got our tonal energy test. You can see the names appeared over here. Let's set a count in. I want to say start. So that means I can press the button at the beginning of the rep and it'll do it, and then it won't do it until I press start after stopping it again. If I want to do it on each preset, that'll mean when I add several presets down this list, it'll do a count in for each preset. And then if I want to do each bar, say there's multiple bars within a preset, it'll count off each bar, which can be useful in different looping scenarios, especially with your drum lines. But for now, we'll do start. Okay? So I've selected start. Now I'm going to click count in settings. And this area can get kind of tricky. I think they're still working on developing this part of the app. But by default, the voice count off is selected. You're probably not going to want that. You're going to want metronome beats down here. And I like to do a beats count off. Generally, most people do 8 and N. So again, the voice was auto-selected. I've selected all 8 beats. Turn off the voice accents, it doesn't matter. Selected all 8 beats down here. If you want, you can select just 1 and 3, and you'll get something like this. I know a lot of bands are interested in doing that. If I select all 4, there's my count off. Cool. So it'll save that by default, and if we click back out, but before we do that, let's go into eighth notes. This can be very useful as well. So, for instance, say that you're working with an odd meter time signature. The eighth notes option gives you a lot more count-in flexibility with making sure that your count-in is consistent with what you're about to hear. And we'll show you some of that in just a minute.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Cool, so you can see right there, I did not deselect the voice options, and that'll happen a lot, like when you're making a new preset and you forget to change and like deselect the voice, and then your band freaks out and laughs because the voice count off sounds funny. So it's good to make sure that you catch all of those things before you present it to the band, because then they will laugh and you will lose rehearsal time. 1, 2, here we go, and 1. There we go. Cool. So that's my eighth note count in. Let's go back to beats. 8 beats. Cool. Okay, now we're back in new group. You can see my default thing here. I'm going to delete that. Okay. Let's add a new a new beat section. So you can see I hit the plus button in the bottom left, and then this middle menu appeared right here. The tempo is by default 112 because that's, I believe, what we have set back in the metronome. I'm not going to check. Let's tap on that. Why is it not letting me edit? Am I dumb? Oh, whoa, because it appeared. Oh, it's the iPad version. Okay, we can edit that out. And cut. Okay, cool. So we've made my selection. I've selected this 112. Now, if I want to name this individual thing, let's just say this is set 1. So I've named this set 1. You can see set 1 has appeared right here. Let's click on the meter. Say I want it to be 4/4. Subdivision, let's do 8th note subdivision. Nice and easy. If I wanted to have multiple bars, so say that it's a 16 count move from page 1 or set 1 to set 2, go up by 4. Let's turn off that accent. And you know what? Here the tempo is going to be 120. Bingo. Cool. So now when I hit right here, it should give me my count in and then start that set. 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3. Word. One thing that will help that I did not have selected, but I'll tell you about now, is this little, in the bottom right hand corner, this little square to square button. This is what moves us from set to set. So say that I had a second set here, let's add it. Okay, I just duplicated that thing with only 1 bar. So that we know it's different, I'm going to turn the subdivision onto quarter notes. 4 bars. Now, when I move from set to set, a green bar should appear above each set, showing me how far I've progressed through it. Check it out. 5, 6, ready, go. Here's the next set, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and we're done. Cool, and it by default went back to the beginning and repeated that first set. Back on the right side over here, we have our tempo section, which I changed and messed with earlier. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do accents if you want, and you can set those accents on a per set basis. Okay, Colin, would you talk about the use tempo switch? Because I always get confused about what use tempo does. Would you explain it to us?
Usually we don't start it off, so the opening set we don't use tempo, because depending on whatever the staff member says the tempo should be, it's better to not use it because then you'd have to change it here. So we usually do not use it and then change it when we play the click track.
So does use tempo make that set use the tempo that is in that box?
Yes.
Okay, so if I flick on use tempo, it's going to be 120, and if I want to change that tempo to 132, then that's going to be 132.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if I turn that off, it's
then,
not.
Yeah, and it's whatever you put it as right here.
In the Metronome app.
Exactly. And so like usually when you keep going down different sets, then there's a tempo change. Like if I added another set, you could use tempo here, make it like 130, and then it would play it. It would automatically switch from 120 to 130.
Cool. And if use tempo is not selected, it's going to use the tempo that exists within the metronome, like the metronome window. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Sweet. Okay. I've always been confused about how use tempo works, so very good explanation, Colin. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Let's get into some specific situations. We're going to delete this. Cool. Okay, so we're going to change our subdivision here back to quarter note. Let's take our tempo down so we can hear everything. Cool, 112. Great. So let's say we got a 16 count move. Bam. Add. Next, composer got a little crazy, arranger got a little crazy. He's like, I'm going to throw some 5/8 at these high schoolers or these drum corps kids right now at the beginning of the show. Make them go crazy. So I'm going to select 5/8 here. I kind of just like the simple dotted quarter subdivision for that. And you can see when I select the dotted quarter subdivision, it by default deselects and grays out the counts that are not the strong beats. Let's do 4 bars of 5/8. And you can also see that I've selected over here in the second window the 2 plus 3 options. That'll be 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1. Cool. Let's give it a play and see how it sounds. Here we go. 5 7 8 1 5 6 7 9 10 11 13 14 15 and okay, Colin, so help me figure this out. What just happened right there? The 5/8 played faster than, like, it played at a faster tempo than 4/4 did, right?
We have the use tempo on.
Okay, so explain that to us.
So I think it would work if we had the use tempo off.
Okay.
So, and I think it would automatically, like when we did it last season, it would automatically use the tempo as 112 from previous, right here.
Uh-huh.
And then it would automatically subdivide it in the right tempo.
So it would, okay, so the problem that we're kind of trying to highlight with this example here is that sometimes tonal energy, when you put it into an 8th note bass time signature, will take it upon itself to multiply your time by 1.3 or by 4/3, and it will make it faster to accommodate the 8th note subdivision that I've selected, or the 8th note meter that I've selected over here. But to fix that, we're going to turn off the use tempo and let it use the tempo from the previous set. Let's see if that works. 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6. Should have just made this an 8-count move. 9 10 12 13 14 15. Here we. So I think that was still fast, wasn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
How do we fix that? Okay, so the problem with what we were doing just then, and the reason that it did not work, is because the 8th note to 8th note button was not selected. This thing will make or break your season, the 8th note to 8th note button. And the reason that it will work, or the reason that it will make or break your season, is because it is going to make the 8th notes that exist here coexist and be equal to the 8th notes that exist here. So we're going to play both the sets. I'm going to change this down to 1 bar for our sanity. Here we go. 5 6, ready, go. 1 2 3 4. Word. Okay, so that was exactly what we wanted. We got 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1. And the 8th note was at the correct tempo. Okay, cool. Another specific situation. Let's say that I want to start on that 5/8 measure. Like, say this is set 2. Let's name this set 2. I'm going to tap the right hand up here and type set 2. Bam, return. Okay. So say that I want to start on set 2. Let's see what happens when I press the count off button. Okay, so after some brainstorming, we have remembered our solution to this problem from the 2017 Bluecoats. So here's how you're going to solve the 8th note count-in issue. This is like revolutionary because I know I've gotten a lot of questions about how to do this. We're going to click in the count-in settings. We're going to go to 16/8. 16/8. You can see I'm going to select 1 5 9 13 3 7 11 15. That's going to give me the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 that I had before in the count off. Let's go back into Tonal Energy Test. You can see I've selected the 5/8 to start on the 5/8. I'm going to hit the play button. Bam. Okay, so one other point that after yet some more brainstorming we have figured out is that if I touch this gear right here, the settings gear, presets change tempo needs to be on for this to work. And I had it turned off. So presets change tempo is on. And then if I hit play, bam. That is the name of the game right there. That's how we solve the 5/8 count-in problem. Let's try it again. What? Why did it do that though?
Yeah, you would normally have to. The way we fixed it was go back to the 4/4 so it gets 112, so the system reads 112, and then it would automatically fix it. Like,
Okay,
read it.
word. So this is some trippy stuff that we got going on here, and I think that the only way that what Colin just said would not work is if you had a tempo change directly on an eighth note bass time signature.
Exactly.
Because then the division of the beat would not be the same between this tempo and this tempo, but that probably won't happen because that would be insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you go back and click it from like the 4/4, it would
Bam.
automatically read the 112 and then go back to 5/8 and have the right fraction.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, it's very tricky.
That's tough. Okay, so just to review again, because this is again what I've gotten a lot of questions about. The way that we fix the eighth note count in problem is number 1, making sure eighth note equals eighth note is turned on. Number 2, making sure use tempo is turned off. Cool. Then we go out here, make sure that we've selected our previous tempo, then selected our 5/8, and then I forgot one thing. The biggest solution is to go into the count in section, touch the eighth notes option, and choose 1, 5, 9, 13, 3, 7, 11, 15. And that is what equalizes out the eighth notes between the 5/8 bar and the count in. So let's play it again just for fun. 5, 6, 7. Word, there it is. Awesome.
Eardrop.
Great. Okay, so our next topic is going to be sending and receiving files in Tonal Energy. This is super useful, very fun. Okay, so let's say Colin, my co-drum major, has made an airdrop, or has made a click track for our new opener. Colin is going to airdrop that to me. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so actually, it's on Colin's phone.
I could send you one, and then you could send me one.
Word, I love it. Okay, that sounds good. So go ahead and send it to me, Colin, and I'll send it back to you. So you're going to see the receiving end first.
Is your airdrop on?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've received this. I'm going to click accept, import success. So this is our success message that really tells us, hey, you got it and it's in the app. A lot of the times if you try importing it and you just hit OK and you don't get this message, it means it's not in the app and that the import has been unsuccessful. Okay, import success. So I click OK. Then if I go to my metronome section, hey, silent command stream, what do you know? So Colin has made this 4434242444. Bingo. Let's hit play and see how it goes. Cool. So you heard that tempo change, happened right on it. Lovely. Okay, cool. Now let's say that I want to send this to Colin. I'm going to click select the silent command stream preset option. Bottom left hand corner, there's a little box with the arrow, the share icon. I'm going to click that. Airdrop menu pops up. There's Bluecoat's metronome Graham, which is actually Colin. I'm going to airdrop it to Colin's iPhone.
Got it.
Bam, and Colin has now received it. Okay, here's another thing that I've also gotten a lot of questions about. Let's say that I want to send this to my staff. I'm going to hit share. Going to go find copy to Dropbox, and as of right now, the app or sharing and moving click tracks only works in Dropbox. So you're only going to want to use Dropbox. So I'm going to click copy to Dropbox. We're in my Dropbox right now. I'm going to choose a folder. Got a bunch of files. Let's put it in 2017 blue. Bunch of photos. Great. Choose. Save. Okay, so it's in my Bluecoats 2017 folder. Great. I think it's going to be down here at the bottom. There's a lot of photos. Great. You can see down here, right here, silent command met group. If I click on this, it looks like a bunch of nothing, right? That's okay. 3-dot menu, top right hand corner, export. Now when I click the export menu, I'm going to click open in. You have to click open in because TET met or the Tonal Energy met will not appear in this menu. Click open in, then it opens that same menu, but it's somehow different. They need to work on that. Now you can see I have my Tonal Energy option open. Click Tonal Energy. Bam. Import success. Imported metronome presets. And it was already here. But there it is the second time. Cool. So you can see I've got it in my app again. So just to review, in Dropbox, here's my file. Click on it. It looks like a wall of text. You have to open the file, and then from within the opened file, click the three-dot menu, export, open in. Then once I have open in, I go to copy to Tonal Energy Tuner, and there it is. Cool, and I should have a third one popping up here in just a second. Word. Okay, last thing. Oh, the app crashed. Great. Okay, the absolute last thing we're going to do, and we'll splice this back in just a second. We're going to talk about making accelerandos and retardandos. That's something that the app does not do by default, and you have to kind of do by yourself, and that is totally cool. Okay, so let's make a new metronome preset. So I'm just going to call this accelerando. Great. Okay, so accel, I'm going to do an 8-beat count in. Turning off my voice selections. 1, 2. Turning on my metronome selections. New group. Great. Okay, so we're going to start nice and slow at 120. We're going to accel. Let's say we want to go to, let's make it hard. We're going to go to 172, and we're going to do it over 5 counts. It's a pretty odd accelerando. So after this set, we're going to go to 172 over 5 counts. Okay, here's how we're going to figure this out. First of all, talk to your staff. Do they want the accelerando to be front heavy, even, or bottom heavy? And when I say those words, I mean, do they want to accel more at the beginning of the accelerando or at the end? Or do they want it to be even throughout? For this case, let's say they want it to be even throughout. So I'm going to make 4 1/4 bars, 5 1/4 bars, because the accelerando is going to happen over that much. Okay, cool. So I've selected my first option. I'm going to choose 1/4. That means it's just 1 quarter note. Turn off the accent. Now let's do some math. 120 to 172, that's 52 counts, right? 52 beats per minute that we're changing over time. So if we divide that by 5, it's going to be roughly 10. So let's increase 120 by 10. It's going to be 130. Word, 1 beat at 130. Let's go to our next beat. We're going to do the same thing. 1/4. Turn off my accent. Let's do the same math. We're going to go 140. We've added 10. I typed it in incorrectly. 140. There we go. Cool. Okay, so now next beat. This is our third beat in our accelerando measure of 5/4. We're going to do the same thing we did, but since it's 52 and not 50 for doing math between 120 and 172, we're going to have 2 extra beats that we haven't added into our accelerando yet. That's okay. We're going to add them in right here. 151. So you can see I've added my sort of uneven, ugly stepchild beat there, and that's fine. Okay, 151. Let's do our second ugly stepchild beat here. 160. Oh, nope, incorrect menu. Here we go. 162. We're going to make this 1/4. And then finally, this is going to be our arrival point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are now here. We're going to leave this as 4/4. So let's say this is just a 4-count accelerando, and on the 5th count is when we arrive, right? 5th count's when we arrive. So now we're at 172. We're back in 4/4. And I'm going to turn the accent on since this is the beginning of the measure. Let's play it, see how it sounds. So we're going to get 4 bars of 120, then 4 counts of accelerando, and then we arrive at 172 at our final tempo. Oh, the square button was not selected. Let's try it again. Two, 3, 4, Word. Pretty easy. It's definitely not as difficult as you would think it would be. And the great thing about this is that if I want to say, okay, let's make this a little bit more top heavy of an accelerando, I'm going to click my tempo up here to 132, here to 144, here to 156, here to 166, or 168. So we're going to get there a little bit sooner, and it's going to feel faster as we accel. Let's listen to this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and 3, and 4. Cool. So depending on drum parts, that can work better for some and not as well for others. So that's really how you do an accelerando. The same process will apply to a retardando. You'll just do it in reverse. You want to make sure that for these that use tempo is turned on. Otherwise, it will not use the tempo that you put in for the accelerando. And you also want to make sure that it's a 1/4 bar. There's some other options that you can kind of go deeper with. For instance, you could, instead of making these 1/4 bars, you could make them 1/8 bars if you want to do it by the 8th note. And that's a little bit harder to do, but you could make them 1/4 bars and double the tempo if you want to do the 8th note. There are a lot of different choices you can do with different maths depending on what your band director wants. For instance, say it's a retardando and you're going from 172 to 120. Then if you wanted like an 8th note before you hit that 120, you could double the tempo and make it a 2/4 bar, and it would give you essentially 2 8th notes at that tempo, even though it would be in the program as a 2/4 bar. Cool. Okay, let's talk about a few other little quick tips and tricks that we can do before we go. So say that we wanted to start right on this accelerando. You can literally just tap it and then click start. Pretty easy. 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So my accelerando, or the metronome will count in at the tempo where you click to start. Okay, one other thing. Generally, we prefer to run the metronome like in rehearsal from this screen. Would you agree, Colin?
Yes.
Why is that?
When you run it from, where's the other screen? Right here. You could be using your iPod, whatever. We use an iPod, and you can accidentally, when scrolling through, add a bar like that or lower, and so it could totally mess up and not go with your show. So we usually run it from here where it doesn't do that. You can't add or subtract a bar.
Word. So this screen right here is just the play screen. Let's hit play and see how it looks. I should have made it just 1 bar, but it's okay. Word. Pretty useful. It's a great little tool, and the fact that you can share and move things around so easily is awesome. Oh, one other thing I forgot to cover, the Metronome Sound. A lot of people want different sounds. I personally love the cowbell too. No, I'm just kidding. I personally love the doctor sound. That's what most people use. Some people use the default click. Oh. Some people use the different choices, but there you go. Okay, and now, yeah, that's pretty much it. Got some choices down here that you're not really, again, voice counting. We're not going to use that as much as band, so unless you guys have anything else, I think we're good to roll. Peyton, Colin?
Do you want to talk about like the loop thing? Does that mean anything to
The
you?
loop thing? I actually don't know a ton about it. Colin, do you know anything about the loop thing?
I think like that was exactly what you said last night.
Yeah.
Where it would just it would just go back to the beginning on blue, and then it doesn't go back to the beginning.
So if you wanted to just run a movement and you wanted to stop after the presets are done, it would stop when you have it off.
Instead of going back to the beginning?
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about clicking stop.
Word. Okay, gotcha. So this is just like the repeat the whole thing button.
Yes. So like yours would always go back all the way here. This would make it not go back there.
Cool. And some just good like tips and tricks, definitely. it's useful to program the whole show. Would you say in separate movements or in one movement?
Yes.
So do like movement 1, movement 2, movement 3, movement 4?
And then maybe if it was depending on the show, connect to if you had to, kind of like what we did last year.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Word. So yeah, so what Colin is saying, that if you want to put two movements together into one because they flow directly into each other, you can do that quite easily.
It would just be a longer click track.
Yeah, a longer click track. And we would definitely advise you to put set numbers in for all of them, like for this one, set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5, or whatever it is. So that way you can know where your sets are, and you know how many counts it is between because you can look at the meters.
And
Awesome.
if SAP says start on like set 2, you can start there instead of starting from the beginning.
Yeah, Tonal Energy is super useful. I think it's the way of the future, and when it dies, you just plug your phone in and you don't lose all your loops and presets, and it's much more intuitive than the Dr. Beat, I think. And it gives you just a lot more options. So we hope that this video has answered a lot of your questions, and if you have any more, please send them to me, samuel@silentcommand.org. Please follow us on Instagram, silent.command. Follow us on Facebook, Silent Command Leadership. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for this and many more videos. We hope to see you on the field very soon. Peace.